So it's Saturday, time to review the legal losses of the Trump administration for the week. My name is JJ Legal. That's what I do here for you, help you understand the 200 plus lawsuits filed against the Trump administration as an attorney. And let's go. It's something you can find here every Saturday on my account. So if you're interested in for that, just know that on the other side of his lawlessness, there's actually some form of accountability. And watch the video coming forward. I'm going to give you some specific examples of the extent to which the Trump administration actually has abided by judicial decisions. So people just don't believe it, but I'm going to show it to you, okay? All right, so for now, let's just go through the legal L's. The most recent ones, a bunch of them happened yesterday on May 23rd, today's May 24th, starting with the Harvard University. The Trump administration has attempted to punish Harvard for, I don't know, because Harvard is, Barron didn't get in. Who the hell knows? But to punish them, they decided to revoke Harvard's certification as an institution that houses and hosts student visas. So there's a program called Student Visitor and Exchange Program, in which schools and other institutions are able to host international folks who have a home someplace else. They just come in here for study. It's a J1 and L1 visa, and they revoked it. Ridiculous. So Harvard immediately went to the court, and a judge said, based on Donald Trump's own tweets, it said, we're just punishing you, essentially. And there's a First Amendment in the United States. They're punishing them for speech. And also there's a thing in the Fifth Amendment, and the 14th Amendment says before you take away something like the SVEP certification, there's a process. You have to have a basis for it. It can't be because you're emotional, whiny little bitch, right? They didn't say that, I'm ad-libbing. So the judge in that case promptly issued a temporary restraining order, and I believe that they will get a permanent one. It was Judge Allison Burroughs in, I think, Northern District of California, Massachusetts. He's a loser. So that's a win. Another win that came yesterday was Donald Trump has specifically written executive orders targeting law firms for just their First Amendment speech because they have an attorney on their staff as a partner who once prosecuted him. So he's a vindictive, malicious, whiny, annoying little, like he's on a revenge tour. He's not governing. He can't govern. You all see that. So all he's doing is going around in retribution. Kamala warned us about this.
This is not a candidate for president who is thinking about how to make your life better. This is someone who is unstable, obsessed with revenge, consumed with grievance, and out for unchecked power.
I was at one of her rallies in Washington, D.C. She said, I have a to-do list. He have a revenge list. And that's what we're dealing with these 120 days. He's just he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. It's cognitive decline. It's just a matter of time. So anyway, it issued an executive order against General Block and essentially revoked General Block's security clearance. And there are attorneys who are participating in lawsuits and court cases that require all of the parties, including the attorneys, to have a security clearance. So it's actually messing with their money. The Judge John D. Bates, gave General Block their injunction stopping Trump and saying that executive order is just unlawful, unconstitutional. So he's rolling that back. Every single thing that they said in that is unlawful. So issuing it is going to tell the Trump administration, reverse every single thing you've done, right? So, but General Block had asked for a nationwide effect. It said not only just stop them as to us, this executive order, stop them from issuing any future ones, in which the judge was like, I can't do that. We just have to go on a case-by-case basis, babe. Sorry about that. So that's still a win. Two big cases regarding the federal employees that were fired. Judge Susan Ilston had already issued a temporary declaratory protection order stopping the Trump administration's attempts to reduce force using this thing called reduction in force. Now, the reduction in force is a thorough process. It includes notice. It's something that can be done. It was done with Clinton. Clinton was able to do that, but he worked with Congress, and it was kind. He let people whose positions were let go transition and apply for other positions. They kept them on the insurance. It was a kind way of reducing force. Trump is just cutting. They're using AI. Doge is using AI and just cutting anything and just irrespective. And that's why you see news reports coming out like you're cutting stuff that we actually need. We're in the middle of a measles epidemic, and you're cutting the people that are working on that, epidemiologists. What? So it's because it's a sloppy way of reducing force. You're supposed to take a scalpel approach. They're taking a hammer or a chainsaw, and it's against the law. And here's the other thing too, and I want you to pay attention. And here, the judge in the reduction in force case, she pointed out that the Trump administration put forth one declaration from a official. Meanwhile, the plaintiffs put dozens and dozens, and essentially the judge says that the Trump administration is saying that the agencies did this on their own because they're not following the rules, but the agencies on their own can cut. So they're saying the agencies on their own can cut. That's what the lawyers are arguing. And the judge is saying, you lost your mind. It says, countless of federal agencies suddenly began exercising their own discretion to suspend funding across the board at the exact same time. That would be remarkable and unfathomable coincidence. He says numerous courts have rejected similar arguments. Like, you're arguing the same stuff, no law, no evidence, no one even willing to put their own name on the docket. Like, there's only one declarant, not just because they don't want to do it, they want to put their name on the docket. They're hemorrhaging Department of Justice lawyers because no one wants to work for them and people are just leaving. So this judge was like, you know what? I love it. She says the orders to rescind any RIFs issued pursuant to that executive order, transfer any federal employees who were moved to administrative leave status to effectuate that order back to the status they were prior to being placed on leave. But it stays the two components of respective leave for duration of appeal. All right, so that's like temporary because, so for the most part, it's like you didn't do the work. You required it and you're trying to lie and say they did it. You didn't do the work and then you're lying. And we see you lie. You dumb fucks. Anyway, they didn't say dumb fucks. I'm ad-libbing. Next. The same day, Judge Moon June in the Department of Education essentially said that you are not allowed, Congress is only allowed to dismantle the Department of Education. You know that, and Donald Trump knows that. So that's why he essentially issued executive orders telling Linda McMahon, who lied on her application. She said she has education degree, and she got busted. She doesn't have an education degree. She doesn't know what the IDEA program is. She's one of many loyalist sycophants who are unqualified for their cabinet positions, who knows what the freak they're doing in their jobs. And they have the nerve to go after DEI when your cabinet is chock full of people who know what the freak they're doing. The guy who Donald Trump got recently confirmed as Social Security Administrator admitted he didn't even know what the hell the job was.
And it's about Social Security. And I'm really not, I swear I'm not looking for a job. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do? So I'm Googling Social Security, one of my great skills. I'm one of the great Googlers on the East Coast. But that is the headline for the Post. Great Googler in chief. Chief and Googler, whatever. By the way, I like to have fun at work. We're allowed to laugh, we're allowed to have fun, we're allowed to know each other's families, we're allowed to be normal. How's that? I'm like, what the heck's the commissioner of Social Security? First, nobody said we're calling you if it was about Social Security, so I'm trying to figure it out.
What? DI, really? Oh, anyway, I digress. So back to this. So the judge, Bruin said, listen here. You can't do it. And plus, Donald Trump says he's promised to shut down the department immediately. On March 11th, defendants announced a massive reduction in force. And then he says the defendants argue the RIF was implemented to improve efficiency and accountability. Where's the status? Where's the rules? Where's the data? Where's the documents? Where's the support? Where's the expertise? Where's all the stuff to justify this efficiency and accountability? You just can't just say it. So they shut down. So in this order, Judge June went down all of the different ways that the things they've done with reduction to force have actually negatively impacted America's school children, and just it's been destructive. And essentially says this was unlawful. You couldn't do this. So return everything back to normal. God damn it, you lawless goons. They didn't say that, but I'm going to be ad-libbing a lot during this. So, bear with me. That same day, another judge, this time it was Judge Beryl Howell, told the Trump administration, when you shut down the U.S. Institute for Peace, you didn't have authority. That was an independent agency. They went in there, Elon went in there, guns blaring, taking crap off the wall, dismantling stuff. It's like, who are you, Elon? Who are you, Doge? Y'all barely even freaking ratified. The hell out of here. So put it back. Everything. And so we see there was a wonderful photo of someone putting back the placard on. They might appeal. They're going to lose. I'm going to tell you this, even though it looks like the Supreme Court has been green lighting them stuff because he had these conservatives. They so much want Donald Trump to win. They're giving him the procedurals wins. But when it comes down to substance, he cannot win on substance. They're lawless. And so they're not going to win on substance. I am going to put my neck out there. On substance, they lose on everything when it gets to the Supreme Court. They've been giving them these procedural wins, which is pissing off Justices Kagan, Sotomayor, and Ketanji Brown Jackson, and occasionally Roberts, and occasionally Barrett. But for the most part, they're going to see it. You wait and see. But yeah, USAIP is back, baby. All right, Supreme Court creeped in here. Speaking of Supreme Court giving the Trump administration needless wins and pause, a full panel on the, I think it was the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals, said that the Trump administration cannot fire Kathy Harris, who is the chair of the Merit Protection Service Board, is where federal government employees go if they're whistleblowers when they're unlawfully fired, and the first black chair of the National Labor Relations Board. So they paused it and say, we'll wait until it percolates to the bottom. And then emergency injunction, to which Elena Kagan wrote a dissent, to which Sotomayor and Justice Jackson came in on it and said essentially, why y'all freaking accepting these emergency orders? This is not an emergency, and you're essentially supplanting your knowledge by pausing this for the ones of the district court judges that actually looked at the data and facts and said, yeah, they don't have it. Stop doing this. Like, you're giving them a little bit of win, and you don't need to give them a win. It's not necessary. Just reject the emergency order, force them to just deal with it on the court below. If it's going to appeal, they appeal it. And there's another thing too. The only good thing about this case, the only good thing about this decision is the majority, which is the conservatives on the judge, made sure to point out that because the plaintiffs, Kathy Harris and Gwen Wilcox, argued that independent agencies, when Congress created them, they said the only reason that they could be cut is for cause, which is true. They said, and Kathy Harris and Gwen Wilcox mentioned Federal Reserve, to which the Supreme Court carved out a special line to say, unlike these other agencies, the Federal Reserve is unique. It really is independent. They want to make sure Donald Trump cannot fire Chairman Powell of the Federal Reserve Board right now. And I think that's why they put that in there specifically. I think that they're trying to overrule this Supreme Court precedent called Humphreys. Essentially, in that case, it said that unless it's for a cause, once Congress says it has to be fired for a cause, these independent agencies cannot be fired. I believe that Justice Alito, Justice Thomas, and they're stringing along Kavanaugh and Gorsuch down that trail, and Amy Coney Barrett, girl, might go along with them, essentially expanding the authority of the executive branch and giving them more ability to control who's the chair. But that never has been done before. They're expanding the power,
authority of the executive for no reason, because even though Donald Trump's first administration, he had the ability to do this, and nothing happened when the chairs of whatever it is were holdovers, and they didn't really do anything negative to the
because I don't want to get into I digress. I don't want to get into that. Let me just stick with the facts. Stick with the facts, JJ. Maybe he doesn't have any emotional intelligence or any control over his bowels or his words and his actions. And just like, we see you. It's kind of win, but all right, next. Judge Jeffrey Wright has blocked the Trump administration's attempt to revoke student visas. For essentially, if you want to revoke a student visa, the process is involved with it. What happened is, what they did was they found this AI. Again, they're just using AI, and it's in Project 2025. They said, we're going to use AI to do what we want to do. And the guys running these things, the puppeteers, I have a chart here of the real true people that are running things. The cabinet folks are just pretty window dressing. They don't know what the hell they're doing. The people who are really doing the job, Donald Trump didn't really appoint, who Senate didn't confirm, even though the people the Senate confirmed shouldn't have been confirmed anyway. But the people puppeting the strings who weren't confirmed, they said a lot of the things that they were doing, and they're going to do. One of the things they said, we're going to use AI. So use AI tools to cross-reference people who have student visas with some criminal database. And when they found infractions, they revoked those. But the way they did it is kind of they revoked stuff for somebody like traffic violations for not jaywalking. And the law says that in order to be revoked, it has to be certain things, and there's certain standards or certain processes. So a group of the folks whose visas got revoked said, what the hell? And so they filed, and the judge says, yeah, for all you guys, yeah, they can't do this. And essentially they went on a nationwide injunction. It says not only for these litigants, but for everybody else, before you revoke it, you have to make sure you follow the process. And you can't just be revoking stuff for random stuff. And when the law says specifically it's for felonies or serious crimes. And when you look at the actual cases, from the examples, I'm not going to go into them now, a lot of them were resolved, and it was it was a sloppy, rough shot job. And that's why when they did this the first time, a lot of them got reversed automatically. But even though it got reversed, some of these people had already filed a lawsuit. And so this lawsuit is a judge just solidifying what the Trump administration had already done, because they kind of reversed some of them already. So this is just a follow-up to that action of them self-reversing, because it's there's a process. I have another video coming when I'm going to talk about Trump versus students. You punk ass. Y'all got nothing else better to do. Govern. Get the prices lower. We said we want to be able to afford our child care. We said we want higher wages. We said we want to live. We said we want to be comfortable. We did not say we want you to pick a fight with well, I didn't say that because I wasn't rooting for you and rooting for you, but you know, like that's what you're supposed to do as a president, is govern, not pick fights with students, like a few people. Like it's like the most marginalized, like trans people represent less than 1% of the population, and they're picking fights. They're like, do y'all not have anything else better to do? There's a whole docket full of shit people need to get done, and you're doing this bullshit. They didn't say that again, and I have to back to work. I gotta really wrap this up in 20 minutes, and these ad libs are not helping me. Ugh. Okay, let's wrap this up with 3 cases regarding people who were wrongly deported to CCOT in El Salvador. One of the cases regarding Keith Ellison said that there was a person who was sent to CCOT who was not supposed to be sent there, but it was in Texas, and this judge essentially said, in Texas, you have to give the Widmer Jostner Aguiles, I'm pronouncing his name wrong, essentially says you have to give within 24 hours of this order, right? He says you have to give me describe all the actions taken by dependents regarding the U.S. Embassy since May 19th, 2025. Like the name and titles of El Salvadoran officials contacted, the specific El Salvadoran laws cited to justify his detention, all agreements or contracts related to the United States and El Salvador. That's a lot. And so the Trump administration, of course, went to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is a very conservative court, and got a stay pending that because it was for 24 hours. So they're going to get that stay. I mean, they've been delaying. If you follow me, my name is JJ Legal here on social media. I think I said this in the beginning. I help people understand the laws. One of the things I do is I've been following all the cases. One of them is Kilma Abrego Garcia. I'm following that case intensely. It's he's a cultural martyr. He's a political pawn and tool of the Trump administration. They admitted that they wrongly deported him, but for some reason they're being stick to their guns, even though the United States Supreme Court, a 9-0 decision said return him. Even though all that, they still don't return him. So there's yet another person who was not supposed to be sent. And they said, give the lawyers access. Trump administration asked and got a stay because they're asking for all this access, all this information. It's the first time a judge has actually said, give us all this information specifically, explicitly, not part of like a contempt order or deposition pursuant to a case. It's just a judge saying, I need you to bring these things for me. And the Trump administration, of course, cited national security concerns, which is bullshit. But anyway, so I'll watch this for you too. I'll put that on my list of people. So that'll happen on the 21st on Wednesday. Also, Judge Brian Murphy had 2 cases. He had previously in April had a class action for people who said, we don't want to be sent to CCOT with Venezuelans. And he said, okay, while this case continues, the 5 people in this case, plus the class, everyone in the class in my jurisdiction cannot be sent off. You know, they sent somebody off. They sent this kid off. He is, and he's there in CCOT right now. He came with his mom and his brothers. They said because he had tattoos, and the tattoos was Venezuelans, they detained him. Next thing you know, he's in CCOT. His mother was like, what the hell? First of all, we came in temporary protection status. You come for TPS, you have to, you know what? Sidebar, this chair squeaks too much and this table makes a lot of noise. I need a new chair. I'm going to get a new chair. This chair squeaks too much. Anyway, sorry. Yeah. So the mother was like, we came temporary protection status. There's a thorough like vetting process. The mom was on the media, was like, my son is not freaking gang member. Look at this kid. And the mom was like, I told him not to get all those damn tattoos. You freaking see God. Kids don't be listening. Anyway, so there was a hearing and the judge was like, I told you don't send these people. That judge also said, I told you I don't send no people back. And Sudan, they sent people to Sudan. And then also were planning to send people to Libya. And in this case, they said they were also planning to send people to South Africa. And they were sending people, essentially Donald Trump just contacted all of the brown countries that he called the what do you call them? Whatever he called them was like a really derogatory terms. Contact all of them in the Caribbean and all over the world and say, hey, would you take people we detained? And this judge specifically said, you cannot send someone back to a country that's not the original origin without giving them process. What the hell is wrong with you? And I said that specifically don't do this, and you're doing this anyway. Fucking idiots. Stupid asses. All right, that's it. Let me wrap this up. So I hope you enjoyed this week's Legal L's. There was about 10 cases, a lot of them dealing with a variety of different things. I am going to attach here a playlist. I'm putting all of these legal L's for the week into one playlist. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see it there. If you're watching this on TikTok, I'm going to add them all to the playlist. And I'm going to create playlists on YouTube, and there already exists on TikTok, of legal one-on-ones, where I kind of get into a little bit details of how, so you can understand. It's kind of like law school for lay people, so you can understand some of these things. And there's also going to be a playlist for the Alien Enemies Act and Kilma Abrego Garcia, because there's a unique interest in just that case. And then a separate one just for the immigration or students, all the other things that go in that playlist. And I'm also going to do a playlist related to the Supreme Court. So Supreme Court decisions, because people are curious about the Supreme Court. So Supreme Court, the immigration generally, the Alien Enemies Act and Kilma Abrego Garcia. And I think I'll do a playlist for I'm not quite sure, but I'll try to do a playlist for the federal employees. All the cases revolving them is a little bit. So earlier on, when I used to do them case by case, when I used to do these videos on a case by case basis, it's easier to put all the ones related to federal employees in one. But since then, I think we've advanced where the Trump administration, they're whack-a-mole. So even though in those early cases, the Trump administration was stopped from firing, they've since made attempts to refire. So I'll start from the riff, I think, because everything else before is going to be irrelevant at this point. So I'll start a fresh. I don't know. I'm not going to do that. I'm not quite sure. I'm not sure. I'm talking out loud. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to do that. I'm not quite sure. Yeah. You know what I could do? I'll carve out. Yeah, that's what I'll do. I don't know. I'm going to hire somebody to do. I'll figure it out. I'm talking out loud. But for the most part, there'll be playlists on wherever I can do a playlist, on TikTok and on YouTube. And I'm not sure if I can do playlists other places. But YouTube is probably the easiest to go to if you're not on TikTok, to go see playlists for all of these. And so you can keep up. If you'd like to support me, there's several different ways you can do that. One, just watch my videos, share it. That's the easiest, cheap, free way to support me, free. Then you got the $1 tier. I sell Know Your Rights cards for $1. And in Spanish as well, I have a video that you can find on this channel, if you're watching this on YouTube, explaining what's in the cards. It's just $1. And then for the next tier, for $7.99, I sell a case tracker, where essentially I need to update it, where I have links to where you can actually follow the cases that I'm talking about. So when I say such case, you're like, is there a place where I go to the case? Yeah, outlasting47.com. You also, in my case tracker, there's other places that you can get them as well. I also have hyperlinks to the organizations and associations that are filing the lawsuits. And I need to update that. And I also have a Trump bingo card and some just tools for helping you deal with the stress of all of this and prepare for this. So that's the $7.99 tier. I also sell for $97, $98 a family packet of like legal cases, legal templates. If you were to hire an attorney to custom design these for you, you'll be paying a lot of money. So I created some custom templates for you all that are available for like $98. You can also join my private Substack communities. Actually, that's the tier between the $1 and $7.99, because the tiers, the Substack community, the Patreon, the TikTok, and the YouTube, I think, are less than $7.99. I'm not quite sure, for the basic tier. So that's another thing. And on there, I haven't done it recently, but that's where I put my strategy regarding getting rid of the Trump administration, stuff that I don't think I should put on public. So I share those strategies there, if you're interested in that stuff. And also, or you could just get it just to support me, even if you're not interested, because it's like, another way to support me. My work here, because a lot of this is hard work. Because to do this, as I've explained in the stories recently, is like I have to review the cases, bookmark them, actually read through. Like you see those people who just give you the headlines or just report what's already been reported in the media and just give you like a couple of lines worth of what's already been reported. I actually read the cases. Some of them are 70 pages, 100 pages long. And I actually go through, and then I highlight stuff for you and pull it out. And then I do this video, and then I edit them. So it's a lot of work. So thank you very much for supporting me. And that's great. People should be compensated for the labor. And I'll take the compensation. And then I have merch. Final ways, I have merch. So I have I Digress mugs, I Digress caps, and t-shirts. I got my cap and my mug. I'm going to get my t-shirt or sweatshirt. And I have Operation 2/3 mug, which is my one-woman campaign to get rid of the Trump administration. It's one woman. It hasn't gone anywhere yet. It's like making fetch happen. Anyway, so that's it. All right, that's it. Thank you so much. Stay tuned. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm going to put the full playlist here.